Alright, hello, this is Brian with Idaho RC. Before we get started, I would like to give a shout out to a few guys. Sandy down at Action Hobbies in Meridian, Idaho. He's the one that hooked me up with the SCX10II. Really good guy, always trying to help everybody out. Also, a friend of mine, Aaron, who painted the body for me. I'm definitely horrible at painting bodies, so I really appreciate that. And to Zach Hudson, who let me borrow his Ascender to do these tests. So what we have here is the SCX10II. I stayed up till 5 o'clock this morning building the thing, got it put together. I took a nap, I put the electronics in it, and picked up the Ascender from Zach, and I went ahead and took them up to Table Rock above Boise, and I tested them out pretty thoroughly. These two chassis are extremely similar. The pumpkin sizes are the same now about. I measured from the table to the bottom of the pumpkin, and they're pretty much identical. The tire sizes stock are the same. When we were crawling, I found that the bumpers on the SCX10II are far worse. You can see how far this sticks out, and the brackets for the D-rings are just horrible. They're catching on everything. It seems like I could put this bumper in, half inch or so, and but that's as far in as it would go. I'm sure I could modify it and get it to go in there, but I'm trying to do stock versus stock. So these are the stock tires, no weights, stock tires, no weights, BF Goodrich. These are the TSLs, just stock tires. So that was the downside of the SCX10. One of the benefits of it was going up and over the ridge of a rock, because I have a ½ inch more clearance underneath the skid plate than I do the Ascender. That was pretty handy. I think I've got about 3 inches of clearance under this one and 2.5 on the Ascender. If you look at them side by side, it looks like the Ascender is way taller, but it's really not when you get a tape measure under there. Really, both of their bumpers are horrible, in my opinion. But the SCX10's is worse. One of the first things I'm going to do is get rid of the bumpers or modify them or something, because the approach is almost impossible with the SCX10II, and it's real bad with the Ascender as well. As far as crawlability, they're both just neck and neck, really. The SCX10 is quite a bit smoother. It seems to be just a smoother rig going across the rock. We went ahead and did a test for side hilling, and they're both, we couldn't tell a difference. They were both tipping over right at the same spot, which we were kind of surprised. We figured that the SCX10 would be a little better on that one. So I'm going to put these nose to nose. I can show you what I mean from the approach. If you look at them, the Ascender bumper is a little taller, and it doesn't stick out near as far. And on the back, the bumpers are about the same as far as being in the way. The Ascender bumper is up higher, but it sticks out further, and so they both drag on the ground about the same. The SCX10II uses the exact same frame rails as the regular SCX10, but they put an extension on there to put this bumper on, so it sticks out even farther. Thought that was kind of funny, but I guess I have to sacrifice for looks, I guess. Going through the build, we saw a bunch of stuff we were nervous about. We were nervous about the axles and how well they'd hold up. I was building one with a friend of mine, Hector. He built one, I built mine. He put in a Rock 412 Tekin in his, and he stuck a 3-cell in it. And of course, what any responsible adult that plays with toys would do, he goes out in the parking lot and start spinning donuts, but it held up. So I mean, that was just one simple test, but we won't know in the long run how well it'll hold up. We were pretty concerned about it, and it passed the initial test. So hopefully it'll last. Another thing on the SCX10 I didn't like was the rock sliders. Really, I guess they're better than the old version. I'm not a fan of either ones, really. It just seemed flimsy, and when you look at it like this, when it's down, you can kind of see it's arced right there. It seems like they've cut a few corners. The Lexan body is very thin, paper thin. It's thin. When we had a wind up there while we were crawling, you'd see the body just flapping in the wind. I was pretty disappointed about that. We had some concerns about the steering, but it proved to be fine out in the field. We did a steering test, drive around a circle, see who had the tightest turning radius, and they were pretty much identical. They'd follow in each other's tracks. I think that the SCX10II's gear ratio might be a little bit higher than the older version, and which would make sense because of the gear ratios in the differentials. Pretty comparable to the Ascender's gear ratio from motor to wheel. The other thing that we were wondering about, hoping it wouldn't be too bad, was the battery tray. It was actually a pretty difficult build. We struggled with a few spots trying to figure out the prints and the instructions. We've built several, so some grass there from where we're crawling. So we were concerned about the battery tray because it looks like, well, the way it's set up is to have a hard pack stands on edge in this battery tray right here, and we just thought that would be a lot of weight up high. I like to run the small 2-cell Onyx batteries. I'll show you. So those are the batteries I like to run. They last about an hour, and they're almost no weight, so that's why I like them in the crawlers. And with this battery tray, it actually fits flat inside there, which was not too bad. I really wish, because they have the room, I don't know why they didn't move this box and just put the battery long ways across right here. That's where that would be the best place for it, in my opinion. Another complaint I had was this box. The receiver box is one with the skid plate, and so, or the rock slider and skid plate, and so if you don't want that box there, you're gonna have to cut it off and grind it flat, and so, which is probably what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna end up grinding this off, cutting the battery tray, and making my own tray straight across here for my battery. It just makes more sense to me. Oh, and I was telling you earlier about the extension. This is where the chassis ends. Right there, the metal ends there, and then this is a plastic extension. It's a really beefy plastic extension, so I mean, I don't think that's really ever going to break unless you're, take a serious tumble. Both these trucks have the panhard. We did do some flex tests. The Ascender does flex a little bit more when you lift this tire, about a 1/4 inch more than this one. Whoop, there we go. And the other direction, they both are about the same, articulating this way, which is interesting. It's about 3 inches when you lift this tire, and then it's like 2.5 when you go the other way on both of them. I just thought it was interesting. I'm thinking it must have something to do with the panhard. It's something I'm going to research personally for mine, so I can overcome that problem and get it flexing just a bit more. They did beef up the links. They have a lot thicker eyelets. The links are a lot fatter. Grub screws are quite a bit bigger. They're not the regular. Maybe they were using an M3 before. These might even be M4s. They probably are. I think they're M4s. It comes with the aluminum shocks, or shock bodies, thread shock bodies. The chassis is almost identical as far as the rails. There's just one difference that I saw, and there's more holes right here, so you can select where to put your shock tower. You have more selections where you can put them. I wasn't a big fan of this is the only way you can have your front shock. I'm not sure how you would relocate that. I'm sure we're going to have some aftermarket parts so we can properly relocate that. So yeah, chassis mounted servo, of course. The new drive lines, they seem pretty beefy. Of course, it has the high pinion on the differential there. It doesn't really hang up being up there. The Ascender is about the same with their setup, with the CVD actually inside the pumpkin. The links sit a little higher, so you're not dragging on them as much. Like I said earlier, this skid plate is higher than the Ascender. And an interesting thing, the SCX10II came with a skid plate that would bolt on an old transmission from the original SCX10. And so if you didn't like this transmission, you could just put the other style on it. A couple of interesting things I thought were kind of silly with this transmission. There's 2 gears inside of here, and they take up about that much space in the middle of it. And the transfer case has 3 gears in it, but this whole area here is two gears in there, and that's all there is. But I'm sure they're setting up for a 2-speed transmission. Guessing you'll be able to stuff it with more gears and be able to have a gear selector. You don't really have the ability to mirror this transmission. For one, the battery tray is in the way. For 2, there's a front support right down in here, or I guess a rear support set up this way over here, and it's on an angle specifically for that bend in the metal. If you turned it around, it wouldn't work. So at this part of the video, I guess I'm supposed to declare a winner of the head-to-head. I don't think you can declare a definitive winner on this one. They're both really capable platforms. It probably comes down to driving style at this point. They're so close. With my driving style, I probably prefer the SCX10II, not by much, really. Somebody else could very easily like the Ascender better. Yeah, there you have it. I'm probably no help to you whatsoever. Anyways, try to keep the rubber side down, guys. See you later.